If you're over 60, there's something in your fridge right now that could be quietly putting your health at risk. Most people assume the refrigerator keeps everything safe. But, certain everyday foods, especially when stored the wrong way or for too long, can actually become harmful, even cancer-causing. And for older adults, the risk is even greater. Our bodies process toxins differently as we age, and what seems fine on the outside could be doing damage on the inside. In this video, I'll show you 8 common foods that many seniors keep in their fridge without realizing the danger. Before we start, I'd love to know, where are you watching from today? Just drop your state or city in the comments below. And if you have any natural health tips of your own, feel free to share those too. Someone else might really benefit from hearing what's worked for you. Point 1. Smoked meats. Smoked meats, like bacon, ham, and sausages, are often packed with preservatives called nitrates and nitrites. These are added to make the meat look fresh and last longer. But when these meats sit in the fridge too long, especially once opened, those preservatives can break down into something called nitrosamines. These compounds have been linked to cancers, especially in the stomach and intestines. Now, here's why it matters even more as we get older. Our bodies aren't as quick to repair damage as they once were. Toxins that a younger person might pass through without much trouble can stay longer in our system, quietly doing harm over time. You may not feel anything right away, but the risk grows the longer these foods stay chilled and exposed to air. And I get it. A lot of us live alone now, or we cook in smaller amounts. So it feels convenient to keep a big pack of bacon or sausage and just take out a little at a time. So here's what I tell my own friends: if you still want to enjoy these foods, just change how you store them. Buy smaller packs. Keep only what you'll eat in 2 or 3 days, and freeze the rest right away. And once thawed, eat it quickly, don't let it sit. Point 2. Leftover cooked rice. It's one of the most common foods in American homes. Easy to make, easy to store, and goes with just about everything. But cooked rice, especially when stored in the fridge for too long, can quietly become a serious health risk, particularly for older adults. Here's what many people don't know: rice can carry a natural bacteria called Bacillus cereus. These bacteria can survive the cooking process. The real problem starts when the cooked rice is cooled too slowly or sits in the fridge for more than a day or two. That's when the bacteria start to grow and release toxins that can cause food poisoning. Even reheating doesn't always destroy these toxins. And there's more. In a cold, moist fridge, rice can also grow mold. You might not see it. You won't smell it. But certain types of mold can produce aflatoxins, which have been linked to liver cancer. For a younger person, the body may handle a small amount of these toxins. But for someone in their 60s, 70s, or beyond, the risks are much higher. The immune system isn't as strong, and what might be a mild stomach issue for a younger person can turn into something serious for us. So here's the safer way: after cooking rice, spread it out to cool quickly, then put it in the fridge within 1 hour. Eat it within 1 to 2 days. If you've made too much, freeze it right away in small portions. That way, you can reheat only what you need, and avoid the risk altogether. Point 3. Soft cheeses. Let's talk about soft cheeses, like brie, camembert, and some types of blue cheese. For many older adults, these cheeses feel like a treat. Maybe you enjoy a few slices with crackers in the evening or save them for holidays. They feel indulgent, comforting, even a little fancy. But what most people don't realize is that these soft cheeses can turn dangerous much faster than you'd expect, even when kept in the fridge. The reason is moisture. Soft cheeses have a high water content, and that makes them the perfect breeding ground for bacteria and mold. One bacteria in particular, Listeria monocytogenes, is especially risky for older adults. Unlike many other germs, Listeria can grow in the cold. So just because the cheese is in your fridge doesn't mean it's safe. Listeria infections can be extremely serious for people over 60. They can cause fever, confusion, and even lead to hospitalization. And here's the tricky part: mold on soft cheese doesn't always show up on the outside right away. By the time you spot a fuzzy patch, harmful toxins might already be spread throughout the entire piece, even in places that look clean. So what's the solution? Buy small amounts of soft cheese, only what you can finish in a few days. Once opened, wrap them in wax paper or parchment, not plastic, and store them in a sealed container. Keep them away from strong-smelling foods, which they easily absorb. And most importantly, if you see mold growing on the surface, don't just cut it off. With soft cheese, it's safest to throw it out entirely. If you still love cheese, consider switching to firmer types like cheddar or Parmesan. They resist mold better and are safer to store. You don't have to give up what you love, just make smarter choices that protect your health as you age. Point 4. Cold cuts. Now let's talk about something that's in a lot of senior households: cold cuts. Sliced deli meats like turkey, ham, bologna, and salami. They're easy. Just open the pack, throw a few slices on some bread, and lunch is ready. No mess, no fuss. And for those of us who don't cook big meals anymore, that convenience feels like a blessing. But here's the truth: cold cuts can carry hidden risks that most people, especially seniors, don't know about. The biggest issue is with the preservatives used to keep these meats looking fresh and lasting longer. You've probably seen the words nitrates or nitrites on the label. These chemicals help prevent bacteria from growing and give cold cuts that nice pink color. But over time, especially once the package is opened and sits in your fridge, those nitrates can break down into nitrosamines. These are harmful compounds that have been linked to cancer. For younger people, a few slices now and then might not cause much harm. But as we get older, our ability to fight off toxins and repair damage slows down. That means something small, like eating processed meat regularly, can quietly build up into a bigger health issue. And here's another thing to consider: cold cuts are usually very high in sodium. That puts added strain on the heart and kidneys, which is especially important for anyone dealing with blood pressure, heart disease, or kidney issues. So what can you do? Buy smaller amounts from a trusted deli instead of those big pre-packaged brands. Keep the meat in the coldest part of your fridge, not the door where temperatures fluctuate. And if you won't eat it within a few days, freeze it in smaller portions. Better yet, when you can, try using freshly cooked meat you've prepared yourself. That way, you avoid preservatives altogether. Point 5. Pickled foods with artificial colors. Maybe it's that jar of crunchy green pickles you've always kept on the table. Or those colorful pickled peppers and eggs that show up during holidays and family dinners. They taste tangy, they last a long time, and they remind many of us of home. But here's something most people don't realize: some pickled foods, especially the brightly colored, store-bought kind, can carry health risks that slowly build up over time. The danger isn't just the salt or the vinegar. It's the artificial colors and preservatives that many commercial brands add to make those foods look more appealing. Things like yellow 5, red 40, and blue may first look harmless on the label, but when these chemicals sit in vinegar-based brine for weeks or months, they can break down and form byproducts that are harmful to your cells. Over time, those byproducts have been linked to things like cell damage, and in some studies, even cancer risk. Now, the risk becomes even more serious when these pickled foods sit in your fridge long after being opened. You might think, well, they're in vinegar, they'll last forever. But vinegar doesn't stop chemical reactions from happening inside the jar. In fact, the acidic environment can speed them up. And since the flavor doesn't really change, it's easy to keep eating them without noticing anything wrong. There's also another chemical to look out for: sodium benzoate. When this preservative mixes with certain vitamins, like vitamin C, it can form benzene, a known cancer-causing compound. That's a real concern for older adults, especially since our bodies become more sensitive to toxic buildup with age. So what's the better choice? Look for pickled foods that use natural colors, like beet juice, turmeric, or paprika. Always check the label for artificial dyes and preservatives. And once opened, aim to finish the jar within a few weeks, not months. If you're feeling adventurous, consider making your own pickles at home. That way, you control what goes in, and leave out all the unnecessary chemicals. Point 6. Leftover canned food. We've all done it. You open a can of soup, beans, or fruit, use half, then cover it with foil or plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge for later. It feels wasteful to throw it out, and the fridge seems like a safe place. But keeping leftover canned food in its original can after opening can expose you to real health risks, especially as you get older. Here's why. Once a can is opened, air and moisture begin interacting with the metal lining inside. That can cause tiny amounts of metal, like tin or even BPA from the lining, to slowly leach into the food, especially if it's acidic, like tomatoes or fruit. This can lead to unwanted chemical exposure, which may build up in the body over time. For seniors, whose organs, like the liver and kidneys, aren't filtering toxins as efficiently anymore, that buildup can be more harmful than you'd think. There's also the issue of bacterial growth. Unlike sealed cans, opened cans aren't designed to keep food fresh. Even in the fridge, the edges of the can can become a breeding ground for bacteria, especially if the seal isn't tight or the food isn't used quickly. So here's the simple fix. Once you open a can, don't store leftovers in it. Transfer them into a sealed container right away, and eat them within 1 to 2 days. It takes less than a minute, and it helps you avoid unnecessary chemical exposure and foodborne illness. Point 7. Reused plastic containers. Let's shift focus from food to something we use to store food, plastic containers. A lot of us reuse old takeout boxes, margarine tubs, or even plastic yogurt cups to store leftovers. It feels smart, thrifty, and resourceful. After all, why throw them out if they still work? But here's what most people don't realize: some of these plastics aren't made to be reused, especially not for storing food in the fridge. When low-quality or non-food grade plastic is reused, it can slowly release harmful chemicals into the food, especially when exposed to cold, moisture, or even just time. Two of the most concerning chemicals are BPA, bisphenol A, and phthalates, both of which have been linked in studies to hormone disruption, inflammation, and even increased cancer risk over time. Older adults are especially vulnerable to these effects. As we age, our ability to process and filter out chemical toxins becomes slower. So the buildup of these substances in our system can quietly interfere with metabolism, digestion, and immune function. The worst part? You won't see, smell, or taste anything wrong. The danger happens at a microscopic level, inside your body, without warning. I remember Linda, 70, who proudly told me she hadn't bought a food container in 10 years. Why would I? She laughed. I've got a whole drawer full of butter tubs and deli boxes. But after talking to her doctor about her recurring digestive issues and low energy, she was advised to switch to BPA-free or glass containers. Within months, she noticed a real difference, not just in digestion, but in overall energy and clarity. So here's a better habit: stop reusing plastic that wasn't made for long-term food storage. Look for containers that say BPA-free or use glass with a sealed lid. And don't microwave food in plastic unless the label says it's microwave safe. Point 8. Storing certain fruits and vegetables together. You might be surprised to learn that how you store fruits and vegetables in your fridge can affect not just how long they last, but how safe they are to eat. A lot of seniors place all their produce in the same drawer or plastic bag, thinking it's just about keeping things organized. But this simple habit can speed up rotting, mold growth, and even lead to chemical changes in the food that your body may struggle to process. Here's what's happening: certain fruits, like apples, bananas, pears, and tomatoes, give off a natural gas called ethylene. It's harmless to humans, but it causes nearby vegetables and fruits to ripen, and then spoil, faster. Now, why does this matter more as you age? Because spoiled produce doesn't always look bad right away. Older adults may accidentally consume fruits or veggies with light mold, slimy texture, or reduced nutritional value, and that can lead to stomach irritation, nausea, or worse, if the immune system is already weakened. Mold toxins aren't always visible, and for seniors, repeated exposure, even in small amounts, can increase long-term health risks. I remember a woman named Diane, 69, who used to keep all her fruits and veggies in one drawer. It was easier that way, she said. But after constantly tossing out wilted greens and slimy carrots, she decided to separate everything, fruits in one drawer, veggies in another, and onions and potatoes kept outside the fridge where they belong. The difference in freshness, and food waste, was immediate. So here's the better habit. Keep ethylene-producing fruits separate from vegetables. Store leafy greens in a breathable bag or container with paper towels to absorb excess moisture. Check your fridge regularly and remove anything that's starting to spoil before it affects other produce. As we age, the choices we make each day start to matter more than ever, especially when it comes to what we eat and how we store it. The foods we talked about today, smoked meats, leftover rice, soft cheeses, cold cuts, and brightly colored pickles, might seem harmless at first glance. After all, you've probably been eating them for years without a second thought. But the truth is, as our bodies change with time, so does the way we process toxins, chemicals, and bacteria. So here's what I'd love for you to do today: take a few minutes to check your fridge. Toss out anything that's questionable. Replace what you can with safer options. And most importantly, remember that small steps can create big results. You don't have to change everything overnight. Just start with one food, one habit, one better decision. And if something you learned today surprised you, or reminded you of a food you need to check, leave a comment below. Your words might help someone else make a better choice too. Thanks for spending time with me today. Stay safe, stay strong, and keep putting your health first, because you're worth it.